You there, adventurer? Yes, you. Do you desire knowledge of immense worlds and arcane power? A codex of untold stories and lore? Or perhaps simply easy listening for your daily commute? Then feast your eyes, or, more accurately, ears, upon Dungeonpedia. Shit's about to get nerdy in here.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Dungeonpedia, an exploration into the lore of Dungeons & Dragons. We're your hosts, Llewyn Markel.
Taylor Peasley.
And I'm Travis Peasley.
So, okay. I normally, I'm sure normally everybody knows, normally, we kind of, we'll sit and chill for a sec. And then whoever's presenting, because we all have the same sense of humor, we'll try to find like a cheeky segue, from what we're talking about. I love that the audio only listeners have no idea what's going on.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, they might hear a little bit about what's going on.
They might, yeah. But so because we all have the same sense of humor, we come up with like a cheeky, usually absolutely just like bang on pun or whatever as a segue.
Right.
Yep.
And we we don't really need to do that today.
No, not at all.
We're talking about vampires.
I could not have ever guessed.
No. Okay. Yeah. You know what? No, I am actually going to expose you for this. You did for a solid minute after I figured it out, where you were like, wait, what?
Because I wasn't actually paying attention to the
video. And you're like eating or whatever.
Yeah,
that's true. But
as soon as you pointed it out, I was like, oh,
We're talking about vampires for the audio for the audio only people. Maybe you can hear it. I am wearing a pair of costume fangs as opposed to real fangs. It was relevant to the episode though. I don't actually I do dress like this, but
but not usually
I don't without the teeth,
the bite mark,
right?
Without the teeth. No, the bite mark is real.
Okay.
No, without the teeth. They also might not stay in the whole episode. I'm not sure. We'll see. But yeah, we're talking about vampires.
Vampires. Right. I do love vampires.
Same.
Yeah. Okay. So, okay.
Okay.
I feel like, I feel like I have a lot of caveats here. Because this entire research process. Oh wow.
Process.
That's a good way to make vampires not threatening, is to remember that they probably all have a lisp.
Oh, they absolutely all do. Yeah.
Like Strahd, lisp. Don't worry, we're not going to talk about him too much today, because I've done that.
He already had his whole episode.
Episode. Yeah,
he might get a revival in the future just for the updates.
Yeah. We are gonna talk about some of that. We are gonna talk about him a little.
Oh, okay.
He is gonna be here. He is inescapable. In a discussion about D&D vampires, right? Like, unfortunately, he is inescapable.
Right.
True.
But so much about this research process surprised me. And so, because initially I didn't want to spend too long or really any time talking about real world vampires or the lore of vampires in the real world. Partially for time, because I knew that there was going to be a lot of stuff to talk about in D&D, but also because it's vampires, right? Everyone knows what a vampire is.
Right. Everyone and the grandmother knows.
Yeah. Everyone has heard of a vampire.
At least they should have.
Yeah. If not, then
I'm sorry you had to figure it out through this.
Sorry you had to find out.
Yeah, you might consider looking into some other media first.
But also, like, God bless you. But we are going to talk about them a little bit because I just took a quick peek. I wanted to make sure, like, you know, if there was like a quick thing I could jot down that might be helpful or expository. But then I found out something that I had to share. So, vampires, right?
Yeah.
Everyone knows what they are. And all across the world, so many different kinds, like so many different cultures have a vampire story, essentially. Even if it's not directly, like it's not called a vampire, or it's not quite the same as like our modern images of vampires. Like pretty much every culture has had at some point a story about some entity, you know, there's some dark entity that's associated with death.
Right, like an undead.
Yeah, an undead creature.
That like lives off of the life force of others.
Exactly. Kind of blending, you know, potentially blending in with human society, yada, yada, yada. And there's a lot of reasons that historians have kind of proposed that these myths become popular. Because obviously people are always trying to kind of make sense of the nature of life and death and yada yada yada, and also you know, whatever. Only the thing that so many people's number one fear, and the thing that, you know, so many people try to avoid,
right?
And there's also like associations with, you know, sightings of people who in ye olden days before we had medical technology may have been accidentally buried before they were actually dead.
Right, like
which
happens quite a bit.
Which, by the way, dear God.
Yep, that is where the term the graveyard shift comes from.
Like you know, so you know, things like that. So there's a lot of reasons that vampire legends have become popular, right? Over time, the image that has become most popular in culture and media of a vampire is a very like specific, very, very like austere, fancy, charismatic, kind of, you know, often attractive person.
Right.
And is one who uses wit, charm, accrued social power. Oftentimes they're like wealthy, they're political figures, whatever. To facilitate their you know, vampire thing.
Their vampire needs.
Their needs. Their dark needs. And this image, while it does not originate from this text, because, you know, there were many before this, and there's arguably the most famous Dracula came after this text, and, you know, there was like Carmilla before that, yada yada yada. I gotta shout out the greats, but one text that is kind of credited with by a lot of historians for codifying this image of this fancy upper class vampire is the short story entitled "The Vampire," which was published in 1819.
Oh, that's the vampire with the Y one, right?
Yeah, with the Y, yeah.
Yeah.
And this story was published by, or was adapted by John William Polidori as the written form of a story that was told by Lord Byron as part of a storytelling contest between the two aforementioned men. As well as Percy and Mary Shelley.
Oh my God.
And you say a writing contest. Yes, you would guess correctly if you would wonder. This contest did also produce Frankenstein.
Yes, that's
or
exactly
the
what
modern Prometheus.
Oh
yes.
My God.
Okay, yes, because I was like, wait, this sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Because I knew that Frankenstein came from like basically because of the that volcano eruption in 18 something or whatever.
Yeah, then they like
that
all
made like
together.
a terrible like years long winter basically.
They all got together and were like, oh, what if we tell ghost stories?
Let's tell scary stories because
and then whoever tells the best one like wins or whatever.
Yeah.
And then we get Frankenstein. and we get sexy vampires.
Yeah.
Two opposite ends of the spectrum there, but
Yet they will converge.
Yeah.
Kind of, by the end of this.
Oh.
Okay. So that's the real world part. There's so many cool variations of vampire legends that I thought I was going to get to talk about this episode, but oops. Oopsie. But there are a lot of really interesting ones. Honestly, maybe there'll be a part 2 one day, or I could just feed off of that proverbial blood bag for minisodes for like the rest of my career. Anyway.
Probably.
Because there's so many.
Between that and elf subspecies.
Oh, dude, don't get me started. So, okay. Now we're firmly moving into D&D. So vampires have appeared as early as they were there at the very beginning in the white box set, which was published in 1974, with further supplementing from Greyhawk, which was published in 1975.
Right.
And vampires are described as undead with a number of strong abilities. And I'm going to go over all of them right now. I think they made vampires in this early. They said if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Right.
So there were changes, but a lot of them were fairly subtle, and I feel like it's good to establish a baseline of what most vampires for the rest of forever are going to be working with.
Yep.
So in the first Dungeons and Dragons box set, vampires drain 2, quote, life energy levels from any enemy they hit. And it took me a while to figure out what this meant. And I'm pretty sure it means character levels. Which is crazy.
Okay,
life level, character level. Okay.
Yeah, which is crazy.
That's wild. Yeah.
That is wild.
Because it's not HP, it's not Constitution, even though vampires do also drain those things sometimes. But I think it's in like Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. Like one of those monster manuals, it describes draining these life energy levels and also the requisite, like draining requisite, or that character losing then requisite hit dice, so on and so forth, which is why I think it does mean character level.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
That is kind of insane.
Yeah.
That is wild.
Now, of course, these are like top tier, high level enemies. Like this isn't just like a, Joe Schmo, you take your level 1 party out there and it's like, bam, minus level 1, you're dead.
Boom.
Yeah,
That's
of course, if all of these are drained, you do die, but these aren't just like garden variety enemies, right? So they drain life energy from enemies that they hit with their attacks. They can summon and control hordes of rats, bats, and wolves. They can polymorph into a huge bat or gaseous form at will. They regenerate HP at the start of every turn. They have immunity to non-magical weapons, and they do not die upon reaching 0 HP. Instead, they are forced into gaseous form. They can charm any humanoid creature simply by looking into their eyes, acting as an advanced charm person spell.
Okay, so am I to assume then that anyone that's immune to charm is still immune to their charms? Okay.
Yes, it's essentially like the parameters are still the same. It's just kind of stronger.
Okay.
Right.
than like a regular spellcaster, for example, trying to do it. I think they get like a -2, which again, negative number is good. Y'all know. They were wilding out back then. Y'all know. We've talked about.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, original numbers are they get ridiculous. There's a reason why they every couple of years go through and reshuffle everything.
Yeah, we can't talk about THAC0, otherwise this will turn into
3 hours.
3 hours, and then I'll be like, we just talked about THAC0 for 3 hours. Now I'm going to talk about mythology for 3 hours. In addition, any humanoid that is slain by a vampire's energy draining ability will rise as a vampire in service to their killer. This is also a pretty consistent feature of vampires.
Right.
And the specifics of this process or the resulting relationship, besides the whole in-service thing, are not expanded upon. They will be. We'll talk about it. So these and I'm sure that like, I don't, maybe this is just me, as someone who's playing in a Curse of Strahd campaign right now, you know, I feel like these abilities are, it feels almost as ubiquitous to me as like the real world vampire knowledge. Like it's a little bit like, of course everyone knows that they can transform into a gaseous form. Of course everybody knows that. But I do think it's important to kind of establish what we're working with here.
Yeah, like just because you have a generalized vibe of what vampires are capable of.
Yeah.
When you translate that into D&D, you do still kind of want like, I guess like an established like ability chart.
Yeah, like this is, you know, and like I said, it's fairly consistent. Like there's some, especially early on. Like I don't think there's a lot of major changes made to this until like maybe 3.5, you could say. But like, I don't think there's major changes to this until, you guessed it, 4th edition.
Shock.
So, you know, I feel like it's, you know, we gotta establish a baseline here. So in addition to these incredibly powerful abilities, like I think just being able to drain character levels is busted on its own, right?
Yeah.
Never mind the everything else.
Just ignore everything else.
Ignore everything else.
Is wild.
Just draining character levels is crazy. But these strengths are balanced by specific but very, very powerful weaknesses. If vampires are exposed to direct sunlight, immersed in running water, or staked through the heart with a wooden stake, they die immediately.
Okay.
They don't take radiant damage. They don't take
immediately.
Do not pass go. Do not collect.
Do not collect 200. Do not collect 200 milliliters of AB positive.
Oh,
you're done.
Do not go to coffin.
Do not go to coffin. They are also repelled by the sight of a cross, which is later expanded to include myriad holy symbols, usually of lawful good alignment.
Which, I mean, that does make sense. You can't just have like a cross
just randomly in a world without Jesus.
Evidently you can. We'll talk about that in a second.
Okay.
So in addition to the sight of a cross or a holy symbol, they are also repulsed by the smell of garlic and mirrors. Now, it's not explicitly mentioned here that they do not create reflections in mirrors, simply that they are repulsed by the sight of them. Maybe because they don't, but you know, whatever.
Okay, yeah, that one is a bit weird.
Silver just pisses them off tremendously.
Yeah. And they also must return to rest in a coffin that is lined with soil from their homeland every day. That's
okay,
that's what they do.
Right.
Also worth noting, it doesn't say that they drink blood.
Just that they feed on their life energy.
Yeah, just that they drain energy.
They would be more like energy vampires than
which I didn't realize. I didn't realize until researching for that episode that was not a pop psychology term that was invented on TikTok. I didn't know that.
What, energy vampire?
Yeah. I didn't know that was the thing.
Oh yeah, no, that's definitely been a thing.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Apparently they originally used to be called psychic vampires, but we're not even going to talk about them today because we got so much to talk about.
Oh boy.
Yeah, no, I saw that and I was like, wow, that's really interesting. I want to talk about that. And then they're just
kept being more.
That kept happening ad nauseum.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's no explicit mention of, and I know that it might sound like asinine that I'm driving this point home, but there's no mention of vampires biting people to suck their blood for energy or nutrition or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
There's no explicit mention of that, right?
Right.
And curiously, not for a little while.
That is odd.
I don't know if it was supposed to be implied, but
I mean, it could be either one with early editions because they seem to assume a lot of the reader. But sometimes it's like, oh no, we just didn't think about it.
Yeah, like that what I just, kind of summarized from there was like a paragraph, you know, and a lot of it was like vampires hit as specters. So then you got to go look at what
a specter is.
Look at the specter stats and then yada yada.
Yeah, no, I mean, my topic a couple of weeks ago was just, started in 2nd edition. And even then, I still had a lot of, this is just like XYZ. Okay, what is XYZ?
Okay, let me go look at that.
Yeah.
So this next part, this is the entire blurb from Greyhawk. I just want to read it out as is because the way it's written is so funny to me.
Okay.
So this is just verbatim from the Greyhawk supplement.
All right.
Quote, all vampires are affected by the cross, despite any former religious background, as it is sovereign against them. It must be noted, however, that the vampire will not flee from such a symbol, but merely try to position itself so that the cross, or whatever, no longer interposes its power between the vampire and its intended prey. There are other similar symbols of power versus vampiric creatures, and they can be introduced if the referee so desires. Vampires from the region of the Middle East are invisible, but they are not able to charm. Okay.
First of all, because
or whatever.
Or whatever. Second of all, I love this early mention of the DM as being the referee.
The referee.
And also the Middle East.
Okay. The Middle East.
The Middle East are invisible.
Yeah. Which that is also a thing. We're not going to talk about it too much. But there's a couple of variations that are literally basically just known as like Eastern vampires, where essentially that's the vibe, is that they either are invisible or can become invisible, but they can't use charm, or in some cases also cannot enter a gaseous form.
Right. Okay.
But they can turn invisible, which is still pretty good.
I just like the Middle East as if Greyhawk is a real place on Earth,
like capital
that
M, capital E,
where people would know where the Middle East is in
capital
Greyhawk.
M, capital E, Middle East.
I guess you can. I mean, obviously, you can throw in a Middle East into Greyhawk, but
right?
Is that what you're calling it?
Like, because that's kind of lame.
Like, it's kind of it's like tacked on there as a like. Like it doesn't open a whole can of worms, and there's just like vampires from the Middle East, and it's
again
like,
they just assume a lot from the reader here.
Yes,
which in some cases is somewhat freeing, because then it kind of it allows for a lot of creative decisions to be made, but it's just tacked on at the end. Like, it's like, excuse me, Gary, what do you mean the Middle East is in Greyhawk? Gary, what are we talking about here?
Gary Gygax picked up the entirety of the Swana region and put it in Greyhawk.
Greyhawk,
copy paste Greyhawk.
Yeah, and also I know him on a first name basis, I guess. Yeah. So vampires return in the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons Monster Manual, which was published in 1977. And they're officially given the alignment of chaotic evil and stated to simultaneously exist in the material and negative material planes. In some later supplements or whatever, these are referred to as the positive and negative energy planes, which makes sense because they're dead, right?
The fact
Sorry,
that
I just
exist...
had more flashbacks.
Yeah, I know, right?
God, the fact that they exist simultaneously between those is kind of crazy, but.
Yeah, it's it's fine.
Don't worry about it.
And that's kind of like they kind of stop. I feel like they kind of stopped leaning into that as much later. Like and it's sort of like the implications aren't really explored much outside of I think it's kind of just for vibes, honestly. I'm not gonna lie. Like, the implications of that aren't really explored. Like, it's not like, and this gives them the ability to whatever. I think it's mostly just for vibes.
Probably, yeah.
So their abilities are pretty much the same as we discussed earlier. We established our baseline garden variety vampire that casually drains character levels, whatever. But they expand on some of the details here. It's stated that the grave soil of their coffin is the source of their power, which is why they need to return there to rest during daylight hours, including being immolated by the sun. That's also why they need to stay in their coffin during the day. But
okay.
Yeah, I good reason.
That's the reason. There's a very strong emphasis on, even more so than the coffin, like the soil,
Yeah.
That's a very prominent theme that's, important to vampires, is being in contact with the soil from either the site of their homeland or usually more specifically the place where they became a vampire, right? Their grave soil.
Yeah, I kind of really like that because it does kind of like firmly like reestablish in your mind, this is a creature from the grave.
Yeah. Like, I think it's very like, it's very, I don't know.
Grounding.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh my god.
Okay,
that took me way too long to.
Hey, Taylor, that joke's. Just kidding. They don't really do the suck yet, so that doesn't really work.
Aww.
But, yeah. So
energy suck.
Yeah, they do hit him with the energy suck. So the weaknesses of vampires this early on are, in my opinion, more punishing than they are today, as is often the case. But it's usually the case for players where older stuff was harder than it is now. But so it's kind of nice. It's kind of nice seeing enemies get the get the short end of the stick for once. So the mechanics by which vampires deal with things like sunlight are kind of expanded upon. So if exposed to direct sunlight, vampires are immediately rendered powerless and die after one turn. So hypothetically, day breaks or something, and then, someone puts a beach umbrella over them, and then
or like they're close enough that they can scramble inside within one round.
Yeah, maybe, but like still not good.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna lie. All I can think of in my head now is like people finding where the vampire's coffin is, and then just setting up like a chain of mirrors to reflect the sunlight directly into their chamber.
Oh no, that's like
you don't even have to do that. You can just cast daylight.
That's like
Well, yeah, but my version is more fun.
Okay, that's true.
That's like that's like the hyper advanced version of like the ant and the magnifying glass kind of thing.
Yes.
And as of AD&D Monster Manual, they die in 3 turns of being submerged in moving water, not immediately. So
that's good.
They get a chance. And it's such that they take a third of their health of damage in moving water every turn.
Okay.
If staked through the heart, the vampire will die, but will only remain inert as long as the stake remains in their heart.
Okay.
So if you want to finish them off, you have to cut off their head and stuff their mouth with holy wafers. So
we're going the full Catholic route.
They got communion crackers, man.
I didn't realize that communion crackers were canon in D&D.
Yeah,
and also
things that are canon: communion wafers, the Middle East, and Jesus.
And Jesus.
Evidently, at least the cross.
The cross, at the very least.
The cross, at the very least.
And it is a holy symbol for some reason.
Which, honestly, I would be more perplexed. I'm more perplexed by the notion that the cross is there, but Jesus isn't there.
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. After a person is killed by vampire's energy drain, if they are buried specifically, they will rise as a vampire under the control of the creator after 1 day. And this individual retains all of the abilities that they had in life, except for any that are exclusive to non-chaotic evil alignments. So if you were a paladin,
sucks
to suck. You
lose like everything. Basically.
Yeah, you lose probably most of your abilities. From being a paladin at least.
But I like that it specifies that they have to be buried for that. Yeah, to happen.
So like if your friend gets killed by a vampire, you have to burn the body,
Yeah, don't bury it.
Don't bury it. If their master is killed, this individual will become a free-willed vampire. Now they will still be a vampire, but they will no longer be under the control of this other vampire.
Right. Because I know that, like, especially in a lot of old like vampire stories, there was that big thing of like, whoever made you into a vampire controls you.
Yeah.
So it is interesting to harken back to that.
Yeah, which we're gonna there's a lot of nuances and not exactly changes, but interesting expansions upon that concept that we're gonna talk about a lot in this episode. So if I asked you to think of a D&D vampire, I have a pretty good guess who we're thinking of.
Strahd von Zarovich.
Yes. My problematic fave.
Strahd von Zarovich.
Yeah.
Strahd von Zarovich. Yep.
Yeah, my muse, my problematic fave. But Strahd was not the first D&D vampire in publication order.
Oh.
Least. Now, I will give it to him. The creators of Ravenloft and Strahd, Tracy and Laura Hickman, geniuses, were working on what would eventually be published in 1983 as the first Ravenloft module. They were working on that as early as like the late 70s. Okay. So like the concept of Strahd existed before some of these other things were published. Yeah. But technically, he didn't exist as official publications until 1983.
Right.
So to peel back the curtain a little bit, I had to go and revise this section like 3 times because I thought I had the earliest vampire, and then I found an older one, and then I found an older one.
So no.
I hope you guys like callbacks.
I do.
Because they're technically what I believe, unless there's like more, which sure, whatever. Unless there's more, the oldest reference that I could find to a character who is at any point referred to as a vampire was in the Adventures of Dragons DM's guide in 1979, and that was a reference to I hope you like callbacks. Cass the Bloody Handed, who was the lieutenant of Vecna, and he
his boyfriend,
his right hand man, or maybe his left
lieutenant.
Hand. His left-hand man.
I mean, he was also his lieutenant, but he was also his boyfriend. I've seen the updated art. They loved each other.
They did write that in 1979, actually, which was very progressive of them.
Very progressive of them.
But also there's a technicality here because in the DM's guide, he is only talked about in the description of the artifact, the Sword of Cass, and he's also not referred to as a vampire. I think later they were like, "Hey, remember that guy? What if we made him a vampire?"
Yeah. Okay, which is fair, and I can definitely.
Yeah, but you know, I like technicalities.
If I recall all of the setup for Cass, it does immediately like that guy should have been a vampire. That's the vibe. Is that from jump that guy should be a vampire?
Yeah.
So then next we have what the first discrete individual vampire character, and by individual or whatever I mean like not just here's a generic category of enemies. I mean like this is an individual who is a vampire,
named vampire,
specifically named vampire.
Yes. So the next one that I could find that is a candidate for the earliest is explicitly introduced as a vampire was named Vlad Tolenkov, and I hope you like more callbacks because he was a consort of Lolth, and he lives.
You are like you have just created the Dungeonpedia cinematic universe with our first 3 episodes.
Yeah,
straight up.
Yeah, so he's a consort of Lolth. He lives in an area of the Demon Web Pits known as the Night World. He was introduced in the supplement Queen of the Demon Web Pits, which was published in 1980, but he doesn't have much character. He's kind of just set up to be an encounter in that module. Mm-hmm. And pretty much his only thing really is that he's a vampire, he's a spellcaster, he's one of Lolth's like top tier Patreon supporter simps, you know. So we're gonna talk about what I originally thought was the earliest vampire character. He's one of the earliest. And I think the most, like, it presents a compelling story about vampirism and also kind of is a character. Like, isn't just an encounter, I would say.
Right.
So this character appeared in the Advanced Dungeons & Dragons Adventure module, Tomb of the Lizard King, which was published in 1982. So this is like right before Strahd. And this module sees a group of adventurers investigating a swath of savage robberies and bandit raids that have completely halted the economic activity of the region under the control of the Count of Eor.
Okay.
So the leader of these bandits...
I would have pronounced that as Eeyore, so thank you.
I also would have pronounced that as Eeyore.
The worst part is I looked at it and I just saw the first part of the name of the continent in Final Fantasy XIV, which is Eorzea. So I'm having to just chop that in half and not say the full thing, even though my muscle memory tells me it's just Eorzea.
It is EOR, by the way.
EOR, yes.
Yeah, EOR.
So the leader of these bandits is the titular Great Lizard King, the Vampire Lizard Man, Successor.
I didn't realize that we got Vampire Lizard so early.
Yes, we do.
Vampire Lizard Man.
Can you imagine my disappointment when I thought this guy was the first vampire? And then he wasn't? I was so sad.
And then the first, discreet... bespoke vampire was just some guy that Lolth was screwing.
Yeah, just some random...
Just some guy. I mean, I'm sure he's cool. I don't know.
Probably not.
He probably has like a novella or something.
Maybe. And this is how I got killed by Lolth.
Yeah, this is how I got killed by Lolth, and then we fell in love. Vampire Lizard Man, cool. So not only is that tight as hell,
yes.
The tale of his turning into a vampire is very interesting because it introduces a new path to vampirism besides being killed by an existing vampire and then becoming their slave. Because that's not a path to promotion for a lot of people that I think they would want.
No.
No. I mean, I certainly wouldn't be looking for that path of promotion, but...
You do you, I guess?
So in his life, Sakatha amassed great armies of lizardmen raiders and brought the region of Eor under his control. This allowed him to amass great wealth, and he used this wealth to not only acquire many magical artifacts, but to employ many evil spellcasters who helped him create a massive underground tomb complex where he would eventually plan to be interred. And he filled this tomb with magical treasures for his use in the afterlife.
Of course.
As one does. You gotta be ready for that. People talk about being ready for retirement. You got to be ready for your afterlife, man.
Yeah, if you're gonna build an entire underground tomb, you have to fill it with magic items.
Yeah, I mean, did Sarek teach us nothing?
True, because if someone breaks into it and it's empty, embarrassing. So the most important among these magical artifacts was a ring of wishes, which he used to obtain spellcasting powers for himself. Also, mind you, again, he was a human, or not a human, but he was alive at this point.
Right.
He was a mortal man.
A mortal man.
He was immortal.
He was just we're just normal men. Mm-hmm. We're just lizard men. And at this point, also, he is a 9th level spellcaster. So despite his intelligence, he was also rash and self-aggrandizing.
Right.
As one is when they are the leader of a massive cohort of bandits with a bunch of evil wizards in your employ and a bunch of magical artifacts.
I mean, yeah.
It would make one, yeah.
You get a little full of yourself. When a rebellion rose up against him, he rode into battle himself instead of simply using his ring of wishes to handle the situation, as may have been wise. And he was gravely wounded in this battle. So as he lay dying on the battlefield, he made his final wish, quote, that he might live to drink the very blood of those who have defeated him and the blood of their offspring through the ages, unquote.
Okay.
That's kind of sick.
So, for one, that is kind of sick. So, he didn't directly wish to become a vampire, but,
he spelled it out.
When you phrase it like that.
Yeah,
when he rose from the dead as a vampire, he wasn't upset about it. But
well, no, I'd hope not.
If he had been, it would be like, dude,
you literally
drinking their blood.
Yeah. I don't know what you expected from this situation other than vampirism.
Yeah.
Do you want vampires? Because that's how you get vampires.
Yeah, exactly.
That is how you get vampires.
Have you ever watched a movie with a genie? Wishes backfire?
Yes.
And that's innocent, open-ended phrasing.
Yeah.
That's not, I want to drink their blood.
Like that is very specific, actually.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, maybe he did secretly really want to be a vampire.
Maybe he just pretended afterwards that it was totally an accident and that he didn't intend to. But it's like, dude,
like, come on,
it was in the blueprint,
right?
Yeah, exactly.
So another early vampire character that I think is important to touch on here is a character that is from the module Swords of Deceit, which was published in 1986, which is based on the Lankmar setting, which originates from a book series. I'm not going to get into it. It's a whole thing. It looks very interesting. I'm not going to lie. I might investigate it for like a future episode or something because it looks very interesting.
But the problem with having a 1 to 3 week research period.
Yeah. And a lot of the details about the setting aren't relevant to the vampire part. So the character in question is a woman named Miria, who initially appears to the party in a tavern, pleading with them to help her get home during an event known as the Night of Fear, where it doesn't sound good, but essentially on this day, the local gods of the city walk the streets and everyone boards up their homes. It's a whole thing.
So it's kind of like the Purge, but just for gods.
Yeah, actually, it's kind of like the Purge.
That's all I could think of.
It's a little bit like the Purge, kind of. But regardless, it's not. You don't want to be out. You don't want to be out and about.
Right.
There's a lot that happens between now and then. You get attacked by like a specter called the Eater of Souls. It's fine. But Miria is a very interesting character because to me, she's one of the first examples in D&D of a vampire that fits that aforementioned like high class charismatic persona. Kind of like she's kind of like the like Strahd is kind of like the masculine version of that archetype, and she's kind of like the feminine version of that archetype.
Right.
Like she initially deceives the party by not only lying to them outright about her motivations and her identity, she also puts on this very innocent, naive persona that is not at all reflective of her real character. You know, like she like rolls up into the tavern like, oh, won't someone please help me get home?
Oh, my God.
When she doesn't really, well, she wouldn't really need it under normal.
Please, kind adventure, you're so strong.
You're so strong. No, and I am such a small woman.
No, literally. If so you take her back to her big fancy house because she has a big fancy house, including a library that contains texts such as The Vampire of Lankmar, Legend or Fancy, and Creatures of the Night, which is like...
If you ever go to somebody's house and that is exclusively what's in their library, run. Like, it's okay if that's like some of the stuff, but if like she just has all that stuff laid out, this is a warning. She's giving you ample opportunity.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah,
this is a vampire.
Like run.
And if you find yourself alone in a room with her in her big fancy mansion, she attempts to seduce your character.
Oh yeah, no, straight up.
What else is a vampire gonna do?
Yeah,
you have to.
Yeah, hey, you know, you got to do what you got to do.
Straight up, the archetype.
Yeah, exactly. Like to a T. This also, it feels worth noting. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that the Lankmar vampire is an interesting variant in that they only have their full vampiric powers on the night of a full moon.
Okay.
Which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
But that's kind of
sort of a foil to werewolves.
Yeah. Yeah. So here's the big one. I bet a lot of people have wondered, like we've talked a little bit about the paths to vampirism, how one becomes a vampire, potentially the origins of vampires. So here's the big one. The Ravenloft Realm of Terror box set, published in 1990, details it sort of condenses and fully details
a how-to guide to vampirism, if you will.
A how-to guide to vampirism.
Hell yeah, that's what we all need.
So is it? I don't think it is.
I don't know.
I don't need it. I don't need it.
Maybe that's just what I need.
Because, like, look at me. I don't need it. I would contend that even though this is made for Ravenloft, I would contend that the principles of it apply to other, people becoming vampires.
Right.
But it's simply not as common for these sort of things to happen in places that aren't Ravenloft because it's Ravenloft.
Right.
There's so many dark forces afoot.
Ravenloft is just fucked up, man.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there.
At some point, a full Ravenloft deep dive is necessary, but today is not that day.
Oh, no. Today is not that week.
Yeah, let's be honest. It is a week's worth of episodes.
It's crazy. So the 3 primary paths to vampirism. The first is referred to as the deadly desire, in which an individual explicitly seeks to become immortal through becoming undead. That's pretty cut and dry,
Okay. I mean, yeah.
I would argue that Sakatha was treading the line there with talking about drinking blood, but technically not. Technically,
treading the line.
I mean, technically, he didn't explicitly say, "I want to become a vampire" or "I want to become undead."
Well, yeah, but at that point, did the term vampire even actually exist?
That's a good point.
So
the second way that one becomes a vampire is by way of a curse. So the victim in this case does not explicitly wish to become undead, but is still transformed by their desire for youth, power, long life,
right,
etc., etc. So this is where you get the monkey's paw kind of like, I want to make it so I don't die, and then it's like, okay. And then you become undead.
So basically, that's how you would get a vampire version of Jack Sparrow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because he's so like fixated on staying alive.
Yes.
And also Strahd himself falls into this category.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And of course, it's termed that this is more common in Ravenloft because of all of the, the dark forces,
the shenanigans, if you will.
The dark forces, the negative energy, yada yada yada.
Shenaniganry.
Yeah. So the third, which we've talked about a little bit already, is by way of dying via the energy drain of another vampire. These victims become slaves to the master vampire and almost always conspire to overthrow their master at any point they are not being actively commanded.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, because I would be pretty pissed about that too.
Yeah.
Like anytime I'm not being commanded, I'm probably going to be sitting there plotting, how the hell do I kill this fucker?
Yeah, exactly. So vampire slaves can turn other people into vampires. But these vampires also become slaves of the original master vampire. So if you have...
an MLM?
It's an MLM.
So it's like if you have this guy and then he has 2 people and then those people get 3 people, it makes his shape.
And that's how you get a thrall army.
It makes his shape. I'm making a triangle with my hands. So we've moved on from legal vampire loopholes to vampire pyramid schemes.
Oh my god!
Vampire pyramid schemes.
So,
congrats! You named the episode.
Yeah, no, I know that was pretty easy.
Nailed it.
Yeah, it was discussed previously. If the master vampire dies, all of the other vampires under their control become free-willed vampires. So because of the inherent nature, because the inherent danger of this position, because of aforementioned scheming, from your subservient vampires, many vampires take care that any of their victims do not turn into vampires. So after they're done feeding, they'll burn the body, cut off the head, whatever.
Right.
Because, unless they have explicit need for a new vampire slave, it can introduce a lot of issues when you have, someone who probably is going to be very pissed off at you for the state of their existence and want to kill you. That's generally not, ideal. I lied. There's 4 ways to become a vampire.
Okay.
Okay.
So the 4th option here. So how does it work? Well, when a vampire and their favorite victim love each other very much.
Whoa, wait.
What?
Censor. What? No, that cannot be a thing. No.
Okay. No, don't worry. Don't worry. It's worse than that.
Where is
So the vampire repeatedly takes servings of blood from the victim over the course of multiple feedings.
You have to phrase it that.
Yeah, no, I said it's worse. So the vampire repeatedly drinks the blood of the victim over multiple feedings until the victim is almost dead, then replenishes the victim with their own blood. I don't know if it's just like they just pour it in their mouth or if it's like a blood I doubt it's a blood transfusion.
So I can almost guarantee you that what it is because it says to the point that they're almost dead, so they're actually still alive. They probably literally just like cut their wrist
and just
hold it up to the mouth. So once that starts taking effect, it kind of just takes over the entire.
And then probably a little bit of at some point, once the change starts happening, they'll probably start doing it more vampire-y. Start drinking themselves.
And this is a feat that very few vampires can perform. The resulting vampire is linked with their creator in a unique way. They are technically a slave to their creator in the same way as
yikes.
They're not called vampire spawn yet. I'm gonna call them spawn just for clarity. But it's a similar kind of relationship.
I mean
to the spawn.
This is early on. The words are not great.
Yeah, I mean, product of the times.
I think it serves its purpose though.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because it is a very grim, very grim situation to be in. But this new vampire also has the ability to sense their master's thoughts and also does have the ability to harm them. So it's a little bit like, it's kind of confusing, but my understanding is that the nature is a little bit more reciprocal.
Right. Okay.
Especially given that in later materials, a spawn drinking the blood of their master frees them from their control. So,
right.
Okay, right.
Also, this is really good. Quote, gender is not a limiting factor. Master vampires may be male or female, and so may their mates, end quote. So Ravenloft said gay vampire rights.
Happy Pride Month, everyone. Pride Month. It is still Pride, although it won't be when the audio goes live.
Pride, yeah. Happy Pride. I support gay vampire wrongs.
Same.
So, I mean, I think that fourth word that you described, I think that is actually something that... Oh, wait. That's a spoiler. Never mind. That's a spoiler specifically for Llewyn.
Huh? Oh. Okay. I'm
never mind.
I'm sat. Okay, I'm not doing the episode anymore. Now Travis is explaining something to me. No, I'm kidding. So
Travis is taking over.
Interestingly, I believe this is the first time that explicit reference to the drinking of blood is mentioned.
Okay.
Prior to this, it is said that vampires feed on the life essence of living creatures, yada yada yada. They have an energy draining attack, but it's not like it's like, they bite someone and drink their blood before this, which is crazy to me because that to me is so enshrined in like vampire that like you kind of just assume, right? But I'm fairly certain this is the first explicit mention like of drinking blood for that transfer of energy. It's also fun because in this module, it provides a system where vampires become more powerful as they age, like dragons, which is good because they weren't already busted.
Right. Yeah.
So vampires, in this setting, vampires that are older than 500 have become immune to the repulsing effects of garlic, mirrors, holy symbols, and the damage of running water. So it's basically just sunlight.
Oh, okay.
Which is good.
Sunlight and
fantastic
steak.
And steak, yeah. Which is good. Despite the fact that we've talked about myriad paths to vampirism, you may notice, and this surprised me at this point in my research, that there's no mention of like a specific origin point of the creation of vampires. There's not a patient zero, anything like that. There's actually a god of vampires.
Oh,
they don't worship just themselves.
I imagine it's less worship and more just like they contributed to why there are vampires.
Well, as with many other things, it's a little complicated. It's a little confusing, and we're going to talk about it after we take a break.
Ah, damn it!
All right. Yep. Fine. Break time.
Thank you for checking out our episode on vampires. We still have our affiliate partnership with Fanroll Dice. You can use code Dungeonpedia for 10% off your entire order at fanrolldice.com. We also have our Patreon if you would like to financially support us directly. It is at Dungeonpedia.
We do also have our Dungeonpedia Discord. The link is on our Twitch page. It should also be on our Threads account, which you should go follow us there, and Instagram as well. Both of those are at Dungeonpedia. If you have any suggestions, comments, or anything of the sort, you can also email us at dungeonpedia.podcast@gmail.com.
You can subscribe or follow us wherever such options are available, which is most of them, to get notifications on new episodes. Right now, the current timeline for new episodes from the original stream to publishing is about 1 week. I don't see that changing anytime soon, just for my own mental health at this point. But that is currently the timeline, is about 1 week from when we stream it. It goes live on everything else. And when it goes live on those platforms, if you could remember to rate us, review us, and just help us spread the word. We are trying to, just build the community even bigger and stronger than before. And we really appreciate you guys so, so much.
We do. And we also appreciate Alexander Nakarada for creating the amazing song that we use for our theme song, Blacksmith.
And with all that out of the way, I think I want to know more about this vampire god.
Vampire god.
Okay, so... okay.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So there's a lot of... I feel like I need to manage everyone's expectations, that I think this is going to create more questions.
Okay.
Than answer them.
That's totally fine. That is a common experience on this podcast.
Yeah, I want everyone to be in the same mindset the same insanity spiral that I put myself in researching this episode. So, Canchelsis is the name of the god of vampires. Or excuse me, he's referred to as the Lord of Vampires.
Of course, because he's a vampire.
He's a vampire, Canchelsis was introduced in Monster Mythology, which was published in 2002, as an intermediate god in the Gods of the Dark Folk category. I think intermediate kind of just describes his power level, CR.
Yeah.
Canchelsis was created from an ancient intermingling of human and Seldarine blood, which is a shameful secret that the Seldarine wished to hide from the world. They're not a big fan of this guy.
Apparently.
So this origin inspired his belief that blood is the most important source of life and power and magic, which is why he does vampire stuff.
Yeah.
So his avatars often take half-elven form to wander the world in search of decadent debauchery or terrible violence, which makes sense.
Given,
I mean,
given the
nature.
human and Seldarine blood,
Yeah.
So appropriately, given the nature of his origin, he himself has a split nature. So he has a violent side that is known as the Beast, capital T, capital B, which takes over when he is inspired to great rage. This form appears as a
Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah, no, it is very, very... well, I say it's it's not exactly Jekyll and Hyde because his other form is also a huge asshole. But
I'm sorry. Did we read the same book?
I've never actually read Jekyll and Hyde. So
me neither.
But the Beast appears as a muscular, hairy man with taloned claws. Honestly, looks kind of werewolf in a way. His other form is called the Rake.
Oh, so he's a man. Demonetization. a man whore.
A man demonetization.
Oh, see, okay. That's funny that you said that. It actually took me a second because my mind didn't make it past like early 2000s or 2010s creepypasta.
Oh,
that was what I thought of when I saw the Rake. Was like,
oh yeah, no, I was immediately thinking of like Victorian era, like
which actually yours makes a lot more sense.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have even remarked on that because I watched
a lot of Bridgerton in the past like 6 months.
Yeah.
Nice. And I just thought about internet creepypasta. But your description is relevant.
Oh, okay. So it probably actually does come from like Regency Victorian era.
That's
slang.
That would have completely flown over my head. That's really funny.
Thank you, Shonda Rhimes.
The rake appears as a handsome and finely dressed human or half elven man. The rake has I'm recontextualizing all of the passages I've written after this. The rake has a great interest not only in corruption and debauchery, but also finery and luxury. So seeking out fine purchases of fancy clothes, high class parties. Specifically, there's mention that he has a particular enjoyment of picking up good-natured paladins and things like that to corrupt them.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
mm-hmm.
There's a lot of you know, there's a lot of parties. You know?
Yeah.
There's a lot of parties.
Shonda, there's at least 4 seasons on this.
Yeah. He makes his home at, I believe it's the 287th layer of the abyss, where he just essentially lives in like a murder or orgy castle with like fountains of blood and stuff.
Oh hell yeah! You know, very vampiric.
Oh yeah,
he's attended to by like other vampires and like lowly demons and like variations of vampires that I was gonna talk about, but I did not. We simply don't have time. Yeah, so he's that kind of character,
right?
And he's also part of a cohort of interplanar. It corrected it to interplanetary, which is also kind of a baller concept. But he's part of a cohort of interplanar vampire lords, which also includes Vlad Tolenkov, who, as you remember, is Lolth's consort.
Right.
And he may also rarely visit vampires on the prime material plane to share stories or information or probably other things with them. But interesting.
He just wants to be an entertainer.
Yeah,
Can I interest you in this new product that I have?
Yeah, it's like hey, you know, when you get blood like on stuff and it's a pain to clean up, and then it's just a ShamWow, you know. Though I will say, for as much as it sounds like this guy does love to party, which he does, the characterization of the rake is described as like, you know, very, very cold, kind of aloof, cold, sadistic. I'm sure you can, imagine. But interestingly, he is never described as a father or creator or originator of vampires as a whole.
Okay.
But he still commands the grudging respect and fear of even the most powerful vampire lords. So even though he's the god of vampires, we
don't know how he got there.
Yeah, we don't know how he got there or how other vampires got there. He kind of is just the
guy who took the title.
Yeah, he kind of is just the guy that he's the biggest and baddest one, I guess.
Well, if no one else is going to, I might as well.
Mm-hmm. Basically, except
he says as he rolls up his sleeves.
Yeah.
Like he's not so excited to get into the blood orgy. You know, he's like, damn, somebody's got to do it.
Somebody's got to do it.
It's Come like, on, no, they don't. No, they don't, dude. You literally don't have to. But an alternate origin for vampires that is pretty interesting is discussed in Dragon Magazine number 346, which was published in 2006, in the article Core Beliefs, Paylor, of all gods, which describes a myth in which Paylor cursed those who turned from his light in pursuit of evil magic, which created the first vampires. Allegedly, Paylor would be willing to forgive them if they were interested, but they're not.
I mean, if you're gonna curse me like that, I'm probably not gonna forgive you at that point.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm kind of on the side of the vampires in that one because, like, what do you mean you were mad at them for doing evil stuff? So you just made them more evil.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Exactly.
Paylor? Like, what do you mean?
Like Paylor, calm down.
if you wanted to just like smite them or whatever, sure. But like, what do you mean you were mad at them for doing evil magic? So you just were like, what if I made
them beings of evil magic?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But okay. Some materials do also, or some Ravenloft materials specifically, do cite Strahd as being the first vampire, though they don't really. Like, I know the implication there is that he then turned other people who turned other people.
Right.
Yeah.
But it also doesn't, it doesn't
make sense.
It doesn't say that it doesn't go on to specifically describe him then doing that. And I think it also kind of I think it's kind of a product of the isolated nature of Ravenloft stories because they take place in their own demiplane.
Right.
So it's a very real possibility that canonically Strahd is the first vampire that is in those very isolated places. But,
not necessarily the progenitor.
He's not necessarily the progenitor of all vampires. That's my take, at least.
Yeah, like maybe it's sort of like a convergent evolution thing. Strahd became a vampire, but he's not necessarily connected to all the other vampires.
Especially given that it's pretty consistent that he was turned from a curse.
Yeah.
Because he's a bad person that did bad things and wanted bad things to happen.
Incredibly, yes.
Yeah.
Which could be different from, a vampire on the prime material plane who got turned by another vampire.
This is a PSA to anyone currently running Curse of Strahd. You cannot fix him. Don't try.
You literally cannot fix him.
I can make him worse.
There you go.
Actually, I don't know if you can make him worse either.
You know what? Fair, honestly.
He might be bad as
yeah, pretty much.
Oh, well, I can think of one way you could make it worse, actually.
Lich vampire?
2 ways.
I just looked over at the notes. Are we still in first and second edition?
Yeah, don't worry about it. It's fine.
Okay.
Because like I said, a lot of the abilities, the basic properties are very similar.
Okay.
So once we get to a certain point, we'll just be flying.
Okay. Like a vampire?
So we're flying like a vampire that has
is
been
in bat form.
Into yes.
Or gaseous form.
Or gaseous
form. They are on their way back to their coffin. The only interesting thing to note from the Monstrous Manual, which is the compilation of all the monster manuals from Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, which was published in 1993, is that vampires can now use spider climb. Because it's cool.
Yeah.
Because nothing better than a vampire that is not affected by difficult terrain.
Yeah.
And this is pretty consistent for the rest of forever. So as of 3rd edition and 3.5, which this will all be taken from the 3.5 monster manual, because it's pretty consistent.
Mm-hmm.
So vampires in 3rd edition have their charming gaze effect replaced by a dominating gaze, which is functionally pretty similar. It functions essentially as a high-level dominate person spell.
Okay.
Right,
as in dominate person by a 12th level caster. And hilariously, the monster manual spends a lot of time talking about the vampire's new slam attack, which inflicts negative character levels, and also isn't given any flavor text that creates a mental image besides a vampire just body slamming someone so hard they lose character levels.
Yeah, just like pounding them like
they mention it like 5 times. Like they're like an individual turned into a vampire gains a slam attack if they didn't already have one. They'll use their slam attack if da 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 da. And I'm like, I'm just imagining a vampire just shoulder checking someone really hard.
This is the real inspiration, by the way, behind Twilight Vampires. Because all I can think about right now is the fucking baseball scene.
Oh.
Thank you for the timing.
I forgot about.
That's what that sounds like.
Yeah.
Basically.
That is my cat demonstrating the vampire slam.
Yeah.
So their attacks drain constitution as well as inflict negative character levels. And this sort of vague energy drain thing is still the primary way of creating new vampires.
Mm-hmm.
They can also do a blood drain thing. I think either works, but
either way,
they got options. Anyone dies from an energy drain effect. Humanoid victims above 5 hit dice are raised some days later as standard vampires, and those of 4 hit dice or below are raised as vampire spawn. Now, both of these types of creatures are subservient to their creator, but essentially this is the point where they kind of start making vampire spawn explicitly quite a bit weaker than standard vampires.
Right. Makes sense.
So they have, lower stats. They lack the ability to use any of the special abilities, such as the dominating gaze, the bat form, wolf form, dire wolf form, so on and so forth, except for the gaseous form. They also can't use the slam attack, which is another funny. Why do they care about the slam attack so much? I don't know.
Weak.
They're too weak to slam.
They're too weak to slam. They are not allowed to slam.
They are not welcome to the jam.
They are not. No. I don't know why the slam attack thing is so funny to me, but they wanted everyone to. It felt like product placement. They wanted everyone to care about it a lot.
That's okay. Yeah. I see what you mean.
So the supplement Libris Mortis, which was published in 2004, provides a template for creating half vampire characters, which is very, very fun. And we'll see them again. We'll see them again later. So these are characters who could be of any alignment, though they do tend towards neutral or evil alignments. And they get to choose one of 3 selections from vampires' typical special abilities. They can take a con reducing blood drain, which heals them, the ability to call swarms of animals, or a charming gaze. So half vampires enjoy improved healing, damage, AC, physical attack damage, and only acquire a dependency on blood to prevent fatigue if they choose to take the blood drain ability. So honestly, it's kind of just a net positive.
I would agree.
It really is.
Now, granted, there are roleplay implications, mind.
Right.
Because if someone knows that you're half vampire, they may not have a very good disposition towards you. But just take the bat swarm or whatever.
Right.
Then you don't have to worry about.
It's not even just a bat swarm. It literally is just an animal swarm.
Yeah, exactly. Just take the animal swarm ability or whatever. Then you don't have to worry about. You get all these benefits. You don't have to worry about you don't have to worry about needing to drink blood.
Yeah.
Whatever. So the explanation for the origin of half vampires is that in rare instances,
when a vampire and their victim love each other very much.
Yeah, when a vampire and a victim love each other very much.
Callbacks to callbacks.
Yeah. In rare instances, a vampire that has recently gorged itself on a large quantity of blood can successfully reproduce with a humanoid or monstrous humanoid.
What?
And in the cases, these are also obviously, again, very rare. In the infinitesimally small chance that someone who is pregnant would survive an encounter with a vampire, their unborn baby may become tainted and be born a half vampire. So
vampire blood can pass the umbilical barrier, is what you're telling me?
Sure. Yes. And also if you have fertility issues, just drink a lot of blood. Don't do that. This is not medical advice.
This is not medical. This isn't even medical advice in the Forgotten Realms.
Yeah.
No.
This isn't medical advice in Ravenloft. In no D&D setting is this medical advice.
Don't
absolutely not in the real world.
Just because someone else has done it, don't do it.
I'm sorry, sir, but your child, it's tainted.
I hate it.
That poor ye olden fantasy obstetrician is just sitting there with the test results. I don't know. I don't want to go in there and tell her.
She's gonna have a Fonzarovich.
So, these half vampire characters, even those who don't find themselves with a dark craving because their player is smart and didn't take the blood dependency aspect, they often find themselves stuck in a world between the living and the undead because they don't really fit in either place.
Yeah.
Given people's usual attitudes towards vampires, and also vampires' attitudes towards everything.
Yeah.
It's difficult.
Oh, yeah, I understand for sure.
Speaking of things that are difficult, discussing 4th edition. Okay, so this is an emotional roller coaster for me because for once, 4th edition did a lot of things right.
Oh.
But then the things they did wrong are so puzzling to me. So, okay. Per the 4th edition monster manual, which was published in 2008, they sort of killed the vague energy drain ability thing in favor of vampires only being able to replenish their strength and create spawn via a good old-fashioned physical blood drain, which I like.
Okay, I mean,
I like that it's not just kind of a vague, I like it. I don't know. I think that's fine. In 4th edition, the spawn are even weaker. Now they also lack the ability to assume gaseous form in any circumstances. And also they do not have the dominating gaze effect. So essentially they just kind of they can drain blood. They are stronger than just like a regular humanoid. They can use spider climb, but they cannot do a lot of stuff.
They just don't do anything else.
Yeah, which, is by design. It also introduced a ritual that can only be performed by vampire lords, which is called the Dark Gift of the Undying. This ritual, which can only be performed between sunset and sunrise, involves the caster, who again has to be a vampire lord, and the subject drinking a small amount of each other's blood. After this, the subject dies and is interred in unhallowed ground, and the caster prays to Orcus, who is the Lord of the Undead, who heretofore has not really been... I don't know where he's been. He didn't make vampires. I don't know where he's been.
Yeah, and
but not making vampires.
Gonna randomly pull Orcus out. Okay.
I mean, he it makes sense. It makes sense to a degree, but he's here now. Okay. He's late. He said I guess maybe he made vampires in some unknown supplemental material that no one talks about, and then he went out to get the milk. And then he shows up. He shows up like 4 editions later and is like, all right, I'm here. I know I haven't been a good dad, but I've got a ritual for you.
I'm ready to be the dad who stepped up to the ritual plate.
Exactly.
And that's it.
That's all he does. The caster prays to Orcus and asks him to bestow the dark gift, capital D, capital G, upon the subject. Mm-hmm. The following day at sunset, the subject then rises as a vampire lord, unless the ritual is interrupted. If they get beheaded, for example, doesn't work. If someone casts a raise dead spell on them before they rise from the grave,
fuck yeah.
So performing this ritual leaves the casting vampire lord weakened for up to 10 days. And this, alongside the solitary and contemptuous nature of vampires, means it's hard to imagine many situations where this would be preferable to creating spawn. But I think it's interesting, and I personally see it as a spiritual successor to the whole vampire mate thing from Ravenloft Realm of Terror.
Yeah.
Like I could see a vampire lord, maybe falling in love with like a mortal, human or whatever. And then, deciding to do this. I can see it. I was about to say it's kind of romantic.
Is that the word?
I don't know about.
I mean, it's more romantic than turning someone into a vampire and just wholesale enslaving them, I guess.
You're not wrong.
If everyone thought I was being too positive about 4th edition, a successful religion check reveals that, quote, I have to say this quote in its full entirety because it gasted my flabbers so bad. Contrary to popular folklore, vampires are not hampered by running water or repelled by garlic, and they don't need invitations to enter homes. Wooden stakes hurt them, but no more than any other sharp weapon, unquote. Also, I noticed an interesting inconsistency in their stat block, which I actually had to come back and find this later because I thought it was something that was retconned in a stupid way in a supplement that I didn't like. But I went back to double check it. There's two categories of vampires given. There's vampire spawn and vampire lords.
Right.
Vampire spawn, which vampire lords, my understanding is that they're kind of just supposed to be like the normal vampires.
Right.
You know, who have not been created and aren't subservient to another vampire, which are spawn. Vampire spawn are destroyed if they, I believe, end their turn in direct sunlight. Vampire lords are not. There's no mention of them taking damage at all from sunlight.
So I don't know. Immune?
I don't know.
Immune to sunlight now?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
It just specifically doesn't mention anything.
It doesn't mention it. It doesn't say they are immune to sunlight or it describes any mechanic by which it has been altered. They just don't mention it.
But they took the time to specify that garlic and running water don't work anymore.
Fourth edition suffers from a condition called thinking that it's too cool for the basics. That pretty much describes all of fourth edition.
Yeah. But the thing is that I struggle to imagine whether or not this was an intentional, because it like
that's fair. That is a lot of fourth edition issues. Is like
I don't know if like
is was it just shitty editing or was it intentional?
I poured over this stat block several times to make sure I wasn't missing anything.
Right.
Like, yeah. So anyway, we're just gonna move on.
Yeah, fourth edition stat blocks are also just a mess in and of themselves.
Yeah, we're just gonna move on. So this later supplement, which was released in 2011, it's called Heroes of Shadow, and it provides a template for creating vampire characters that I have a love-hate relationship with. I feel a type of way about it. It softly retcons the relationship that vampires have with sunlight, which originally pissed me off because I thought they were just nerfing vampires' weakness to sunlight. And then I went back and looked, and no, because apparently they don't have one.
It just doesn't exist at all.
It's fine. So it states that any vampire or vampire spawn player characters who end their turn in direct sunlight and are unprotected by something, or who are not protected by something like a cloak, take radiant damage. And if reduced to 0 HP in direct sunlight, they are immediately destroyed. Fine. Okay, whatever. Okay. At least they take damage from sunlight.
Yeah.
At least they brought that. At least they remembered the fucking sun exists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something at least.
It also presents vampire as a class, as opposed to like sort of a modifier or substitute for a character's race, which is kind of personally how I would rather do it.
Same. But I have common sense.
and in this way, abilities, classic vampire abilities such as gaseous form, animal summoning, yada yada, are presented as skills that are gained by leveling, which I think is kind of cool. I like the idea that they're tied to progression.
Yeah.
Because I think it would be kind of fundamentally uninterested to be like, okay, here's my level 1 vampire fighter. And then it's like, okay, well, he can just summon a pack of dire wolves or whatever, you know?
Well, here's
I think that's kind of
the workaround for that. Just add racial unlocks at certain levels.
Yeah, I feel like it's a good starting point. I feel like it's a good starting point, though.
Yeah.
For it to be,
okay, fair.
For it to have like the abilities tied to level progression instead of just, oh, you're a vampire, you have these now. But I also find it kind of limiting because in that it's a class, it's like, okay, well, here are the favorite attributes. You know, here's this, here's that. And I think that could be limiting, that it's like, if you want to play a vampire character for roleplay reasons, you're also kind of shoehorned into a dex and charisma class with these particular abilities, you know.
Yeah.
But I do think that the supplement actually provides really good stuff for roleplay.
Okay.
Which is, I don't think I've ever said that about 4th edition.
No, I don't think. I think we have at most like talked about the fact that like sometimes 4th edition has a good concept, but they failed to deliver or present it in any sort of good manner.
Yeah, and I think it's no secret that 4th edition, I feel like, standardizes a lot of stuff and puts a lot of stuff into being like it's more about combat. That's a common criticism of 4th edition. But I really like what this supplement does for the kind of role play aspect of creating vampire characters, because I feel like it lays really good groundwork in making vampire characters of diverse races, backgrounds, and alignments in a way that still feels earned. Like, it's not as though they kind of just cast aside the fact that, vampires have a lot of natural inclinations towards things, like sucking the blood out of people. And it also provides, it recontextualizes the relationship that vampire characters can have with the world. There's a specific note about how, for vampire characters that, kind of want something other than just rampant murder hoboing, that that essentially a life of adventure is kind of perfect, because you don't stay in one place for too long for people to figure out that you're a vampire.
Yeah.
You don't run the risk of maybe finding yourself getting too close to certain people, and then accidentally one day when you have a craving, you accidentally kill someone or whatever.
Right.
And, it really lays out how, someone who, for a character in that position to become a hero. I think it's really good.
Yeah.
One that I really like talks about a description of options for a halfling vampire, which are pretty rare, but often especially deadly, because halfling size and affable reputation make them pretty underestimated. To me, it evokes the character Babette from Skyrim. If any of y'all know, she's a little girl who's a vampire. Well, she was a little girl. She's been a little girl for like 200 years, but she kind of takes advantage of the fact that people underestimate her.
Yeah,
because she's a little girl. Yeah,
and people willingly invite her into their homes, thinking that they're doing like a good deed.
Yeah, and she also kills bad people.
Yeah,
but it's that kind of thing. So for halflings, obviously, there's a big emphasis on community, family, and things like that. And so in some cases, this incredible value that they place on community and bonds and stuff lead them to embrace vampiric members of their families or communities. And some even hold positions of honor as heroes if they became vampires, maybe in the course of, protecting their town or their family or whatever. And these individuals often specialize in protecting their community from the undead, and in turn being embraced by their fellows helps them resist the urge to fall into evil and depravity. And I think that's
amazing.
I know. I really like that.
That is actually really cool.
I really like that. And one particular quote from here that I want to read real quick, just because I think it's, for one, an interesting exploration of a vampire who doesn't strictly like a kind of a blueprint or an encapsulation of a character who doesn't fall into that like prototypical super evil vampire thing, but clearly also isn't a very isn't just like a tortured anti-hero. And also it's just a baller quote. Quote, "I am as a god among mortals, and with such power comes great responsibility. These mortals are mine to do with as I please, and I choose to protect them. Like a shepherd protecting his flock, I will let no wolves harm my herd. No harm befall them by any hand but my own." Which is crazy.
It was so good, but that end is a little wild.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
And that to me is just it's so good.
Vampire. Yeah, it's still that other,
yeah.
Other.
Because it's clear this guy obviously wants to protect this, this
community,
this flock, but it's also very clear that he's kind of got that
god complex,
egomaniac, a little unhinged. But yeah, I never thought I'd see the day that I would be praising 4th edition for facilitating really interesting role play.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd see the day.
Color me surprised.
Right. Okay, so 5th edition.
Finally.
Here we are. We've arrived. So vampires and vampire spawn appear in the 5th edition monster manual, which was published in 2014. And as a bookend, I know this is long, I'm going to go over all of their abilities and weaknesses again, as they are now. So vampires can polymorph into a bat or a cloud of mist, which they automatically transform into upon reaching 0 HP.
Okay.
They regenerate 20 HP at the start of their turn unless in sunlight, running water, or if they have been hit by radiant damage or holy water in the previous turn. Okay. They can call groups of rats, bats, or wolves to aid them in combat. They can climb difficult surfaces with no ability check. This includes being able to hang from ceilings, which is baller. You know, imagine them hanging upside down like a bat.
Hell yeah.
And they can use charm as a gaze attack. It's charm again instead of dominate person.
Okay.
Their weaknesses are as follows. They cannot enter homes without permission. They take 20 radiant damage when they start their turn in direct sunlight. They have disadvantage on attack rolls and ability checks while in direct sunlight as well. They take 20 acid damage when they start their turn in running water. And if they are impaled by a wooden stake through the heart while in their resting place, they will be immobilized until the stake is removed.
Okay.
So pretty similar to how they have been, but the sunlight weakness is a little less punishing. I think it's a little less punishing to take 20 damage and have disadvantage than it is to just die.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, definitely better.
But there is definitely a sense to me of like, I think they realized like if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
They broke it a little bit in 4th edition. But for
they,
the most part,
they fixed it and they put it back.
They said, oh shit, go back.
Control Z, Control Z, Control Z.
Yeah, literally. Yep. So vampire spawn share these weaknesses, but only retain the traits of spider climb and regeneration. Though their regenerative power is weaker, they only regenerate 10 HP.
Okay.
Makes sense.
So vampire spawn are still created when a vampire kills someone by draining their blood, and they may become full vampires only by consuming some of their master's blood, which, as I'm sure you can imagine, most master vampires do not do.
They're not into it
voluntarily.
No.
So vampires and spawn must rest during the day in their coffin or their crypt, their tomb, whatever. Those who did not receive a proper burial must rest at least a foot beneath the ground at the site where they originally rose as a vampire. Though this location can be changed by transporting the receptacle, whatever it is, or a large amount of the grave soil. And often vampires will create multiple potential resting places where they can flee to in gaseous form.
Right.
Which is, you know,
I mean, it's good to have fail-safes.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the 2025 edition of the Monster Manual kind of softly retcon this, but I think that the potential new descriptions are so cool that I'll let it slide. So you have the option of either kind of going with the classic, or new potential resting places for a vampire can be among the roots of a dead tree, at the bottom of a stagnant pool, a coffin filled with grave dirt, which is the classic, a large pot full of blood or vinegar, a space accessible only by shape-shifting, or within a statue or a suit of armor, which is crazy.
I love that. Gargoyles vibes.
I also love that, but I'm sorry, vinegar?
Yeah, I don't know. It's fine.
Italy.
Italy. It's a preserving thing. I don't know. They're on a they really miss eating pickles.
Fermentation. That's all I got.
It helps your vampire keep. But also like the suit of armor. I'm already suspicious. Of armor is so if I walk into a castle or whatever in a fantasy game or something, and I see suits of armor lined up, I know one of those is coming to life and attacking me.
Quick aside, I used to work in a place that had a suit of armor. And Travis did too. And every time I had to walk past it, I was like, you're gonna get me one day. Yeah, you're gonna get me.
There's a vampire lord in there. Fuck you.
Well, they removed it. because they knew there was a vampire lord in there.
Yeah, they were like, we gotta get that out of here. Rid of it. They gotta get that out of here. Also, in the 2025 Monster Manual, they introduced some new kinds of vampires. It's fine. There's one that's like a creepy shadow stalker type deal that can they can teleport from shadow to shadow, whatever.
Yeah.
That's brought on specifically.
Shadowfell vampire.
Yeah, it's brought on specifically by like someone transforming someone with like a necromantic curse. It's fine. And there is also another variety called an Umbra Lord, which brings back an ability. It's called Sanguine Drain, which is kind of, I think, a spiritual successor to the aforementioned vague energy drain ability, which is kind of,
yeah, I like that.
It's kind of fun. They're kind of a little bit of a variation in that they have a little bit less HP and Constitution, but they also have that Sanguine Drain ability. And they also have a neat little thing where if they drop to 0 hit points outside of their resting place, they immediately teleport to their resting place instead of assuming gaseous form and then having to make their way there, which is convenient.
They
have a respawn. They have an easy respawn point. And this also introduces the concept of vampire familiars, which are non-vampire individuals who serve vampires for a number of potential reasons. Either they have been bribed or coerced into doing so. Some cases they have been directly, capital C, charmed by the vampire. And some of them are also freaks who want to become vampires themselves.
Right.
It's more than just an employment type of relationship, because a vampire lord can communicate with their familiars telepathically, though this doesn't go 2 ways, and can also peer into their senses, which is unnerving.
Yeah.
They can just kind of warg into their bodies a little bit. Vampire familiars are also physically changed by exposure to the dark energy of their masters. They become pallid and ghastly in appearance, and their weapon strikes become imbued with necromantic energy that can poison and paralyze targets, which leaves them as easy prey for their vampire master. So that's good.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
And also, of course, goes without saying that, these master vampires often will use their familiars for repeated feedings, which is also part of the reason they get to look in the way they do.
Yeah, okay, fair.
Yeah, being drained by a vampire over and over and over could do that to someone.
Yeah, it'll mess you up. So finally, real quick, we're gonna take it to Von Richten's Guide to Ravenloft, because we have to end in Ravenloft.
We do have to end in Ravenloft.
It has to end where it began for me. So this introduces the player option of creating Dhampir, I think is how it's pronounced, which are half vampires. If any of y'all are familiar with Alucard Castlevania, he is a Dhampir.
I specifically think about Vampire the Masquerade.
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't know a lot about Vampire the Masquerade. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay, that's fair. That's very surprising given your whole everything.
Given the
given the vibe.
The tableau. But yeah, Alucard Adrian Tepish of Castlevania fame is a Dhampir. So in this context, Dhampir can refer to individuals anywhere on the spectrum from being half vampire. So they have a vampire parent, in a similar process to described earlier. They can be the reincarnation of a vampiric ancestor, a person who was changed but not fully transformed into a vampire by an encounter with a vampire.
Okay.
Or someone who has had their life changed by an evil pact or like a necromantic curse kind of thing. It's Ravenloft,
Yeah.
There's lots of the aforementioned dark forces, all that being thrown around.
Lots of ways to make a half vampire.
Yeah.
So they were tainted.
Yeah, they were tainted. And there's a lot of interesting origins, and also this is fun. So Dhampir struggle with a natural hunger in the same way that vampires do, but there are options for this being, you can go classic blood, flesh, or raw meat, cerebral spinal fluid, which is fun. And as a callback to a variant of vampire that I didn't even mention, because there's so many. Psychic energy, dreams, or our classic, the vague life energy. Life energy. Yeah.
Which, is still so vague that it could be
just about
blood
anything.
Or psychic energy.
Or just vibes.
Just vibes. Feeding off of vibes.
Feeding off of, that's so real, actually.
Yeah, that is. Actually,
yeah, but that's vampires, man.
That's vampires.
That's vampires. You know, I was so naive in thinking I could fit this into one episode.
I don't know. Like this is elves all over again.
Yeah,
which
this is elves all over again. But I do think a lot of the variants are good candidates for minisodes because they're very like a lot of them are they're interesting.
Yeah,
but they wouldn't be interesting if I tried to talk about a bunch of them for like an hour, you know?
Yeah, like a 10 to 30 minute block of talking about them. Absolutely doable.
Yeah. But man, I love, you know, I did partially do this because I kind of wanted to pay homage to my first episode.
Right.
That was about Strahd specifically. But you know, I found myself, I was very quickly very interested in what I was reading, but what I wasn't reading, because I think that it's very easy that you kind of get caught up in the typical like cultural zeitgeist and you kind of assume a lot of things about a particular topic. And then when you find out they weren't true, it kind of blows your mind a little bit, which was my entire process of researching for this, including when literally earlier today I triple checked that thing from the 4th edition stat block and I realized they forgot to enable the sunlight part and I fucking lost it.
4th edition just doesn't have sunlight.
Accidentally made immortals, like genuine, like not even effectively immortal, just straight up cannot kill them.
Yeah, they accidentally didn't enable their number one weakness.
Yeah.
So I guess they're technically the most busted in 4th edition, I suppose.
That is one way to think about it.
But yeah, that's vampires, man. That's vampires.
That's vampires.
That's vampires. And I'm impressed that I only mentioned Strahd like 20 times.
Thank you guys so much for listening. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, on Threads, just wherever. Spread the word. We're building a community. We're what was the slogan? Build back better. I hate it.
Back better.
Yeah.
We're building a community of vampires. If you have any vampire friends,
hell yeah.
Definitely let them know. If you have anything that you would like to suggest as a topic for us to cover, feel free to email us at dungeonpedia.podcast@gmail.com.
And thank you once again for listening, and we will catch you next week here on Dungeonpedia. You know, guys, I'm actually not turning 30. I'm turning 29.
You're turning 29?
Again. I'm going to just be 29. I'm going to be 29 forever.
Llewyn's a vampire.